Hello, this is Jackie B. Peterson, the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs. It's my mission to help solos, those of you in one-person businesses, understand and apply the 7 solo business principles to your enterprises so that you can find greater financial success. I hope you'll visit my website, www.bettersmarterricher.com, and there you can download the free ebook outlining the 7 principles, sign up for the free newsletter, and join the conversation on the blog. Also, of course, stay tuned to this weekly radio show, which is up and posted weekly on www.soloproradio.com. You know, Susan Rich and Barbara Saunders and I are hosts for this show every week, and we talk to really interesting solos, and hopefully we inspire you as well as entertain you and give you new insights about what it means to be a solo in business today. And I want to remind you, I've got a couple of events coming up. In fact, they're coming up right away. On tomorrow, December 3rd, I'll be offering my free symposium, The Principles of Solopreneurship, at the Portland Community College Climb Center on the corner of Southeast Water and Southeast Clay from 6 to 9 p.m. You're welcome to come. It's free. And on December 4th, on Wednesday night in Astoria, I will be offering my ever-popular program called How to Charge What It's Worth down at Clatsop Community College from 5 o'clock until 8:30. Would love to see you there. Okay, well, hopefully you can join us. So today, our guest is Jean Serio, and Jean is a social media marketing growth strategist and a LinkedIn expert. I need that. She helps companies determine their audience and where they can be found. Now, that is not simple stuff, especially when we're talking about target markets. She helps her clients determine the type of relevant content which resonates with their audience, which helps turn fans into paying customers. It sounds like Jean's got information for all of us. Please help me welcome Jean Serio.
Hi, Jackie. Glad to be here.
Hi, Jean. This is great. I'm glad you're here, too. How fun. So why don't you start out by telling us about your background, where you went to school, what you studied, you know, your story, how you got into your online business. We love to hear about your journey.
Yes, it was an interesting journey. Well, when I was in college, I worked part-time, as most college students do. I worked for several ready-to-wear retailers, as a sales clerk. I never expected that would ever, I would move forward from that. Whoever thinks that when they're in college, that college job they had, it's just a part-time thing, would ever move into something more serious. But it just turned out that I really enjoyed working on the sales floor, creating sales and, helping women develop their wardrobes or purchase something beautiful for a special occasion, like a prom or a wedding, or even to help people purchase a gift. So it turned out that it was a challenge for me actually creating sales. And when difficult customers came along, in time, the managers I worked for began to turn those types of customers over to me. So it was interesting how it all worked out. That doesn't generally happen to people, but so right out of college, I was offered a position as a manager of a small clothing boutique that was local to where my family lived, and it was actually a division of a Fortune 1000 company, which meant nothing to me at the time. But having worked part-time and holidays throughout college, I had plenty of experience to draw from, and with some training, I was actually able to take over managing that boutique. And sales, by the way, is still the same as it always was. It's about creating relationships and showing the customer you can be trusted, you're there for them, to help them. And in today's social world, it's necessary for people to know, like, and trust you before they can purchase. There's no way around that. And I'm not sure, yes, and this is how it's always been. People need to know you. They come and visit you in a store, for example, and they want to go to the same person each time because they like them and trust them. It's the same with social media. And I'm not sure why, since no one in my family was in retail sales, but I instinctively understood that sales was all about creating relationships. And I enjoyed making sales and was happy to work on the sales floor. I certainly didn't want to work in the back room and do all of that busy work and bookkeeping, et cetera. I wanted to be out there where all the action was.
That's so interesting. You know, as you were saying that, Jean, I was trying to think about what it took for me to understand that sales was about relationships. And I know that I really enjoyed working with people, always have, but my career bent was never to be the frontline person working with people. I was good with numbers, so I was pointed at, bookkeeping and accounting, and actually went on and became a CPA. But I was always the sales arm for our CPA firm, and I think, again, it was kind of just instinctively knowing that I liked people and that I had to build a relationship with people before they were ever, for heaven's sakes, going to buy accounting services from our firm. And I was really good at doing that, And
it was a niche for you, and very importantly, you were able to understand that relationships were the basic, were the foundation of creating sales.
Yes, I did. In fact, I can remember one time one of my partners said to me, he said, "I don't know how you do it." He said, "You call the client in and you're giving them bad news, and you've got such a good relationship with them that they say, 'Oh, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. We're so glad to work with you.'" He said, "If I call the client in and give them bad news, it's practically like they reach down into their briefcase and pull out a gun and shoot themselves."
I know, and it is, men are different when it comes to creating sales relationships. And now what's happening with social media marketing is that sales staffs all over the U.S. are starting to, the corporations are beginning to realize that salespeople don't have the ability to connect properly, that especially men, keeps coming up over and over, that they have a different technique, and women are the ones that develop their relationships, and so it's a lot easier for us to connect with people and make the sales.
So you went from being the manager of that boutique, and then what happened? What turned you into an entrepreneur?
Well, in time, I took several other positions, and I became a district manager, and I learned a whole lot more, but eventually overseeing multi-million-dollar operations. And so what happened was I got married, and my husband was from Oregon, and so we moved. He was in a position where I was working nearby, and so when we got married, we moved back up here where his family and mother were. So that's how I got here. And at the time, there were no jobs available. It was in the 80s. You may remember that. And so I don't know why I thought it would even be sensible to start a business of my own, but that's what I actually did.
Well, it's a very sensible thing to do when you can't find work, actually. Is to go create your own work.
Right. And so everyone, told me before I moved up here, they said, you have to have a job before you get to Portland, or you have to create a business of your own. And so I thought, well, I interviewed hundreds of interviews, didn't get a job, and I thought, okay, then my second option is to start a business of my own. And it turns out I'm very good at that.
Was that a surprise to you?
No, because it was a natural move. It was a natural move for me to start up a business because I was highly independent. And after all the experience of the years in retail sales, I was able to, you're really not, they call it retail sales, but you are the manager. You are the district manager. You are overseeing multi-million-dollar operations, and you get to know every last detail of how the business is run, and it's not hard to transfer that over to a smaller business.
Wow. So from your resume, it kind of sounds like you've been a serial entrepreneur starting and launching many companies. Is that true? Can you talk about that?
I actually have never thought of myself as that, but actually, I guess I would be considered a serial entrepreneur in a way. I eventually started up once I moved to Portland and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, I had always loved antiques, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to start an antique shop. Now, because that is such a difficult business, but I was undeterred, and so
maybe even a little challenged.
It was perhaps that. It was a challenge to me, correct? And so I learned all I could learn. I felt that I could learn, and I went and visited tons of shops and discovered, I think I can do this. And so that's how I actually started out. I started out with one shop, and it developed into 3 different shops. And so it was exciting and fascinating. I got to meet tons of interesting people, and once again, I could be on the sales floor creating, sales and chatting with people and creating relationships where I would build the business.
Yes, because people liked and trusted you.
Right.
You knew how to build those relationships.
Right, and that's what it's all about. I don't care what type of business you have. You were speaking about a CPA business. It's all about, even with lawyers, it's all about developing relationships so that you have that return business, and they know, like, and trust you. Who are they going to call first? They're going to call someone that they know, like, and trust. They're going to buy from someone that they know, like, and trust, and that's how it all works.
So you started the antiques business, which turned into 3 shops. Did you have other businesses besides that?
At the time, it was such yes, at the time, actually, I also hosted huge bazaars and worked with other small businesses to organize large bazaars. And at the time, in the 90s, that was very big, hosting bazaars. And so you had hundreds of consigners who would bring, their merchandise, and you had to have it all organized beforehand, of course. And so that was another big part of the business. And so I had no time for anything else. I will say I participated certainly in local groups, the Chamber of Commerce and so forth and so on, but I had no other time to develop anything beyond that.
Wow.
Was
that still antiques when you say the local bazaars? Was that mostly
antique
stuff?
Right, exactly. Some of the individuals consigners who participated, they might have crafted merchandise. They might have candy that they made. It could be any one of hundreds of different things.
Oh,
and
you're like the original Crafty Wonderland.
Yeah, exactly. And so we had Christmas, we had Halloween, et cetera, et cetera. And we intermingled all of the antiques amongst all of this crafted merchandise, and so it was beautiful. It was like a massive shop, if you will. So it was a lot of work and tiring, but challenging. And then over time, my mother-in-law was determined she had breast cancer, and so and she had other illnesses. So in time, I sold the businesses one at a time and then moved forward. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do because I was going to have to help care for my mother-in-law. I had time to think about, how I would go forward.
Well, sure you did, because it sounds like, you sold your businesses, probably, gained some cash flow, experienced some profit out of them, and then got some time and allowed you to go back through and review what had worked and say, okay, these principles work. I know these things work. This is what's really important. This works. Oh,
yes.
How fun.
Yes, and so I determined that there was no way that I could go back to having another shop because I had no idea how long I would be helping to care for her. My husband and I did it alternately, and she wanted to be at home. So my husband worked full-time, of course, so it kind of fell to me quite a bit of the time to care for her. So I did, as you say, have plenty of time to consider and review, as you say, what worked and what didn't work, and what I thought I would like to do and not. And at the time, several years went by, and I was still caring for her, and I made the determination that the Internet would be the next stop for me. I would start a business on the Internet, and then I did take the time to develop it, and that's I started, and what I do is, a lot of people don't do this, but the most important thing about starting up a business of your own is to do the research. Do the work. Do that work, learn, discover what will work, what can work, what other people are doing, why it doesn't work for them, why it works for them. If you don't do the research and put the time into that, then you will fail. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yes, that's very true. You know, we call it today kind of competitive analysis, and people say, well, I don't care what my competitors are doing. Yes, you do. And, you know, you want to take a look at it. You want to know who's in the marketplace. You want to know what they're charging. You want to know what their value proposition is. You want to know what their package of benefits are, you know, their offerings, what it is, who they're selling to, and what's working. Yep.
Absolutely, because your competitors are who will put you out of business. You know, I was on a street when I had one of the antique shops I had was on a street with 4 other antique shops. However, now that can work if, just as an example, that can work if you are different, if you set yourself apart from the other 3 on the street. Now, just for example, one woman had glassware and beautiful collectible dishware and decor. So that's a niche of its own, you know. And so if you have a niche and you can compete with others in the same immediate area, it's like being in a mall. Yes. But if even huge corporations like Penny's and Macy's, et cetera, they do a ton of research before they determine that they are going to make an offer and try to get into a mall. Of course, it's not so hard for them because they can usually make the deals. They tell a mall what they will pay and so forth and so on. However, for the rest of us, we don't have that ability.
Right. Well, you know, I'm such a believer in focus on one thing and then create a deep and narrow niche, which is probably what you were doing. You know, you focused on antiques and developed your skill and knowledge, and you know, you knew what was a good antique and what the different periods of time were and what the different styles were, and then you focused on one thing within it. You know, I'm sure you must have had a niche as well.
I did, and that was old garden-oriented merchandise and kitchen. Believe it or not, those were heavy, but one thing, too, is once you determine what your niche is, if it starts to flag, if that niche that you are in is no longer working, it's no longer as successful as it used to be, you cannot any longer in this day and age continue on. You have to start revamping whatever it is, whatever the business is you have, and you have to start dropping things that you previously carried or services that you offered, and you have to rethink your business. Yes.
And you know, I think that happens more often today because there is so much awareness of other businesses because of the Internet. You know, the Internet has changed everything.
Absolutely.
And, you know, people are aware of you. Pardon?
Yes, absolutely. Competition is huge these days.
Yes, it is. And, you know, when you take not only the Internet, but you take the fact that more and more people are starting their own enterprises, I mean, just like you know, they're saying, I can't find a job for all kinds of different reasons, and therefore what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my own business. And many, you know, most of those businesses have some sort of heavy Internet involvement, and that means people are aware of you the minute that you put your head up, you know, come out of your foxhole and put your head up there. And, you know, if you're making something go that is not so unique to you that it can't be copied, that means people are going to be competing with you hot and heavy very quickly.
Well, and today there are so many unique ways that they can take a business and do a spin-off of the exact business that you have by offering something slightly different. And so this is another way that people compete. So you are never, ever in this new world of ours, this new social world, going to be the only one doing a specific or controlling a certain niche, if you will. So you have to start thinking as time moves on, if your business is starting to flag in a specific area, then you have to start, well, okay, let's just take, for instance, dentists. Whoever would have thought whitening teeth would become a huge product? That's a huge service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, years ago, there was no such thing. And now a dentist will get you into his chair by offering you a free whitening. How's that for sales?
Yes. Yes.
So,
and that, I keep thinking back to, American business and the American economy, how consumers have benefited from competition. And I think that's true because we just keep trying to make it better and better and better and better, so that we get people's attention and keep their attention. But it certainly means that we all have to be quick and nimble. There's no resting on your laurels.
No, not today. And you really have to think. I go back all the way back to our first bit of our conversation and what you were also speaking about, and that is creating relationships. That is what it's all about. People are no longer putting up with poor service. If you are unresponsive to their needs, they are no longer going to be loyal to you.
No, that's right. Well, they don't have to.
They don't have to. They can go next door. They can go across the street. They can get on the Internet. They can go to Amazon. They don't need you. So you have to have a reason why they need you.
We do at our Small Business Development Center, this is a little off track, but we do a program, a 10-month-long program for retailers. And anyway, I had lunch with several of our clients today, and I asked them if they had seen the 60 Minutes show on Amazon over the weekend, where they're talking about how they're building their warehouses so that they're very near large population areas, and they're planning to deliver goods by drone so that you have your goods within like half an hour to an hour of when you ordered it. And, it's really exciting from the standpoint of new technology, and it's really scary from the standpoint of how do little people compete. And, it's all about the relationship, and it's all about creating an experience around that relationship so that people want to come to the store, because that's the only thing you've got to fight with. You don't have any other tools when, a company like that with their buying power can, take your order and deliver it to you in half an hour.
And they are another company who makes the rules, and we don't have that luxury of making the rules, and you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
It's an exciting whole new direction for all of us to be going in, and but still, it does make it harder, and people who really want to start up a business today are going to have to get even more creative than ever. You're not just going to be able to say, okay, I'm starting up a restaurant tomorrow. Not happening.
Not happening.
No, you are going to have to really do huge research, and if you can get a loan to start a restaurant in today's market, I can't imagine. Banks simply are not giving loans to people starting restaurants unless you have a huge amount of experience. So you're going to have to start your own business with your own cash, which is what I did. But and plenty of other people are going to have to do the same thing today. But it just cannot be something that anyone else can start up in a heartbeat. It has to be something different and unique. And as you said earlier, an experience. It has to be an experience of some sort. It has to be a different experience.
Otherwise, why would you go buy somewhere, And I keep talking about, okay, so you've decided you're going to go to the store and buy something. So you get up, you change your clothes, you probably put your shoes on if you're sitting in front of your computer and you're in your pajamas or your lounging clothes. You get in your car, you drive to the location, look for a parking spot. Once you found the parking spot, you go to the store and you look around and you kind of hope they have what you were looking for. Or you stay home and get on your computer at 2 o'clock in the morning or whenever it's handy and just decide to buy it.
Absolutely.
So it's a whole new world coming out there, and people are going to have to do very creative things to be competitive.
Absolutely.
So
and
let me come back to all your companies, since we've now know you're a serial entrepreneur. You started a company called Women's Marketing and Business Network. What was that, and what was that about? And is that still existing?
That was my first business after having taken care of my mother-in-law. Eventually, excuse me, her cancer was in remission, and she had other issues. And I decided, I had enough time to consider it all, and I decided that the Internet would be my best bet because I could still be caring for her, and I could work on my computer. And so what I determined was my best skills were in the area of starting up businesses, were in training people because I had years and years of experience of developing sales training programs. And so that's what I did. I started a business, Women's Marketing and Business Network, which would teach women how to start a business. And that was in the 90s. I started that. So, and that was exactly what I did. You joined our group, and you were a member, and every week we had trainings, and you received information, et cetera. You could call me personally because in those days that you weren't, everything wasn't done essentially online in those days because the Internet was still in its infancy. So I was able to meet with people and deal with them over the phone, and I did develop it into a thriving business. Although over time, when social media marketing came into being, then I started to change the business somewhat. Yeah.
So I would think back in the 90s, one of the things that was happening at that time is more and more women coming into the workforce. I can remember, which is really going to date me, Jean, that I started my CPA firm in 1976. And I tell people there were 4 women CPAs in Portland, Oregon at that point. We were very visible. Well, by the 1990s, and certainly by the year 2000, I think by 1990s, about probably 35 to 40% of women or of CPAs were women, and by the year 2000, 50%, and they did all kinds of things starting businesses, and it became more common for women to own businesses. But that certainly wasn't true back in 1976. So in 1990s, you probably had a good market niche teaching women how to start business.
I did, and the Internet was growing by leaps and bounds, and people still were not really using, I started in 1998, and people were still not really using the Internet as they are today. So it gave me the opportunity to start out before all the competition set up house, if you will, and start training women. And so in the late 90s, women were definitely wanting to start up their own businesses. They wanted to do their own thing. Well, in those days, they could. They could almost set up any kind of business they wanted to, and it would be successful if they were good enough at it and had enough expertise, if you will.
Well, that's so exciting. Does that company still exist?
Yes, I use it only, though, as the umbrella for, I will always keep that name and use it. I own the domain name and the business name itself, or what we would consider owning it. And my other businesses come under that. So that is the corporate name, if you will, Women's Marketing and Business Network, which I shortened to WMBN, and then, for instance, Get Your Buzz On as a division of WMBN.
I see. So do you have quite a few other businesses under there?
I do. I have, for instance, LinkedIn. I have, that's a whole other scenario with workshops and training and so forth. So that's part of it. And also social media marketing. So I have several different groupings that come under the heading of Women's Marketing and Business Network, or WMBN.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I think that's fabulous.
And what happens is, as I've said earlier, or as I did say earlier, is that I recognize the fact that women were starting businesses on their own, and they weren't that interested anymore in training because they could get it for free elsewhere. And so then I evolved, the business evolved into social media marketing and other types of trainings.
Wow. So, talk about how you've seen social networking grow and develop. That's even another subset of the Internet, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Now, when I first started in 98, MySpace was actually only beginning, and it was officially launched. I mean, you heard about it, but it was launched in 2003 and only used by teenagers. And so, it was really nothing that what I have done over the years is once something new comes out or I hear about it, then I start studying it. What is this about? How can this affect me? How can I use it to help clients? And so I kind of grew with it all. And Facebook started up in 2004, and then, of course, as we all know, it was mainly used by college students.
Right.
But now, here's the thing about social media, or social networking, let's speak about that first, is that it has become the top way, the easiest, smartest way to connect with your family and friends. Isn't that how you connect?
Yes, it is. It is.
I mean,
absolutely.
You cannot go to a party, a function, a gathering of any sort where someone does not say, oh, on my Facebook page, or let's Facebook each other, let's be friends. You cannot. In this day and age, I've forgotten the billions of people who are on Facebook now and how many people actually connect to it every day and every month. It's amazing.
That's fantastic.
Well, it's a great way to share information. You can do it quickly. You want to tell someone you got a promotion, or you're moving from one company to another, or you started up a new business, and that is mainly how people do it.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. There's been the concept that we're becoming a global village, and you can just see that happening, that when you go on the Internet, your business, of course, is global instantly. People all over the world can find you. And then when you go into the social media, you're interacting with people from all over the world. And, it's just, I think it's shrunk the size of the world, if you will.
It has.
Really speeded it up.
Definitely. I mean, with all of the changes that Facebook, for example, keeps making, it makes it a requirement. I mean, you have to have a Facebook page. I mean, you're almost no one unless you have a Facebook page, as crazy as that may sound, but it's true. And it's a way for people to follow you, follow your business.
That's exactly right.
Yes, get to know, like, and trust you, of course. Something that people don't realize, though, is that LinkedIn actually started in the early 2000s, and it launched eventually in May of 2006, 2 months after Twitter was launched. So, I mean, LinkedIn has also been one of those companies that started very small and worked itself up to the powerhouse it is right now.
Oh, that's just fantastic. So do you think you're answering that question, that all businesses should be using some form of social media? Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. There's almost no reason not to use it. Today, churches use it, nonprofits use it. I'm working with a local nonprofit group to help them. It's one of those. Everyone should be using social networking sites, social media marketing. There's no reason not to, and it's just easier, faster. It helps you become more visible quickly, to brand your business, allows you to connect with people and companies that you never previously would have had the opportunity to connect with, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And as you say, you become global. People all over the world get to know you and your company. And here's one thing that people should always remember is you are the company. If you are the only one, you are the company, and you have to learn the rules of social media marketing and social networking so that you give the best representation of your company.
So as long as we're talking about that, what are some of the principles of social media marketing that everyone should be following? Do you have a few tips that everybody should be doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. First thing and most important, top of the list, is you must know who your audience is. And second to that, where they hang out. Are they Facebook people? Are they Pinterest people? Are they Google Plus people? When you know who your audience is, then you are able to discover where they socialize, if you will. And that's absolutely essential. Second to that is you must consistently connect with your fans and followers and people who would be customers, potential customers, if you will, because that's how you begin to create your relationships with people, is to consistently connect by posting on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's the problem with a lot of small businesses. They don't feel, I gave a workshop a couple of months ago. I've given many, of course, but this one workshop, every single person, and there were 50 people at that group, in that group that day, were complaining about, well, I don't have time for it.
Yes.
Well, how do you do it, et cetera. But you have to do it. You have to determine what is the best time for you to do what needs to be done, to make your postings, to create your postings and then make them. That has to be determined by you, although there's plenty of information out there that says when you should post to Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. It's not necessarily the best time for you.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
And we're not selling. Social networking, social media marketing is not selling. Your main job is to connect with people, to get to know them, and so that they can rely on you. And then you need to provide good content. When you know your audience, you know what they're looking for, and then you provide it content-wise. That could be anything from product questions, answers to problems that a customer has, or just about your products in general. You can only sell to fans and followers when they know, like, and trust you. And that's how it all works. Good content, developing your relationships, responding to problems.
Yeah. So how did you, of course you've been doing this for a long time, so are you on your social media every day, Jean?
Yes, and I always tell people it's not essential for you to do what I do, and that is I am on LinkedIn for at least 2 hours, sometimes more, every single day, 5 days a week. But also that's how I developed top ranking as a social media marketer, and LinkedIn. I am either number one or somewhere between the top 5.
You're out there marketing,
but I am out there, right?
Mm-hmm. You're walking your talk.
Exactly. But no business, unless you are in the same business that I am, of course, it's not necessary for you to do what I do, and I always tell people that. If you start out at least by taking a half hour of time that you actually honestly have available, where you're going to turn off your emails and shut off the phone, etc., and you are going to concentrate on commenting, posting, reading what other people have posted, get in there and get in the mix and let people know you exist.
Yes. True.
That helps you brand your business, and that's how
jump in the pool.
Yes, that's how you become known as an expert. You don't have to be doing it 2 hours a day like I am. That isn't essential, but at least a half hour to 45 minutes, because then you're able to find out, what are your connections saying? What are people saying about you? What's going on in your specific area? If you are a human resources person or you are a tech person, if you join groups on LinkedIn which are in areas of your expertise, then you'll see what other people are saying, what else is going on in your industry. That's essential these days.
Yeah, really is.
And you have to. And you're learning from other people. I am learning from other people, and then I am also showing my expertise, and that's how you brand your business these days.
Yes. So what are some of the big mistakes that people make with social media marketing?
Well, the biggest mistake is not knowing their audience.
Okay.
That is absolutely the biggest mistake, because in today's marketplace, everyone is not our client.
Yeah,
every group is not our audience, so you have to know your audience. And the second thing is failing to listen to the audience. I recently wrote, I developed a discussion on one of the groups I belong to on LinkedIn, and hundreds of people connected because I said, you must not fail to listen to your audience. Your audience tells you what they want. They are out there saying on Twitter, oh, well, we don't like this, we don't like that, we like this, we like that. Well, duh, you have to listen to them.
Right.
So failing to listen. They spell it all out for you and they do it for free. How do you like that?
Right.
And the third thing, if I had to say one more thing, is failing to provide the content that your fans and followers actually want. This means listening, knowing your audience, and then listening and providing them the information, content, whatever you prefer to call it, what they need, providing them what they require to continue to be a fan or a follower or even buy from you.
Yeah. Wow. So I can see that. So Jean, when did you start Get Your Buzz On?
Well, I actually have been thinking about it for the last 3 years, and then over the past 2, I really worked at developing it and providing a scenario where people could come to my site and they could involve themselves in social media marketing, either independently or through us. We would teach them how to develop their audience, discover who their audience was, and develop that audience. And here's another very important thing people don't even think about is every business actually has a voice. Yes. Your voice is very unique to you and to your business, and if you don't know what your own business voice is, then you cannot effectively use that voice to connect to people and create relationships and create business. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing that we do. And we help them manage social sites. We can even write content for them. And this is something that's been evolving, and it's what I do. And so I felt, well, this is the time to start offering services which relate to each and everything that I actually had been doing.
Yes, yes. So you'll do content for people that are kind of
right.
Would not be tongue-tied in a group setting in person, but boy, when it comes to putting the words down on social media, they have no idea what to say. So you'll say it.
Yes, it can be confusing. What we do is learn what their voice is. We determine that by what they've previously written, what their business is about. I'm about to release by January a training for corporations which want their own employees to do social media marketing for them because it's more sensible for them to actually utilize their own employees because they are their best brand.
Oh, what a good idea.
Yes. And so I've been working on that now for about a year or so. In January, I will release all of that. So that's all part and parcel of Get Your Buzz On. So
that's a good question, too. So when you work with our clients, who are your clients usually? Are they business owners? There's all kinds of different sizes of business, I gather.
Right. I have a wide variety of clients in every style of business, from attorneys, groups, to health coaches, realtors, nonprofits, and corporations. So I can actually work with almost any type of business, including a nonprofit. Of course, I have to deal with their unique scenarios. And lawyers are also another a different niche. They can only do certain types of social media marketing, that's for sure.
Right.
All of these every single one of these companies is their own unique niche, and they require a different social media marketing process. One process does not fit all.
No, so I could see that you would create a plan for each company that you're going to work with, no matter what size they are.
Right, exactly.
So then, when you have a client, do you coach them one-on-one, or do you do training classes? Do you offer teleseminars or webinars on what you're doing, or all of the above?
I do, all of the above, and it just depends on what that specific client or business wants. Sometimes you have an entrepreneur who is on their own, and that is entirely different from working with a company, because a company has its own rules and regulations that you have to abide by. So I do coaching and consulting for those who require it, working one-on-one, so to speak, and I do that with both LinkedIn and social media marketing. So some clients are looking only for social media marketing. For example, Twitter, wanting help with Twitter and Facebook or Pinterest or Google+, and other people simply want LinkedIn. And if they want LinkedIn, then I'm hosting 2 separate types of workshops. One for newbies, people who are just really getting into it, and then an advanced workshop. And I'm just completing a social media marketing workshop, which I'll have ready probably in February. And also, yes, I do host teleseminars and webinars. And there is a page on my Get Your Buzz on site, which does list upcoming webinars and teleseminars if they are available at this time.
Oh, that's great.
So, and I also have LinkedIn for Business Do-It-Yourself Blueprint, which they can purchase, and that guides you step by step through each of the requirements for marketing yourself successfully on LinkedIn. And I also have another book I created called Social Media Power, and that has 200 tips for using social media marketing effectively, because sometimes people just want to get right to the point and do it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. This is you've just spread your word out in many different ways, and I can tell that you are using all the e-tools which solopreneurs definitely need to use. Most solos are going to be in an e-based business, and you're taking advantage of all the different things that are there in technology. That's fabulous.
And it is different, as I say, for everyone, and every company needs a different, a unique process to that specific company.
Yes. So can you give us some attributes of a typical client for you? Do they have a size or type of industry, or they're just all over the board? What's your focus?
They are really all over the board, because social networking and social media marketing is so huge today that most people don't, unless you're in the business like I am, or you are actually in marketing specifically, then most businesses, they don't even give it a second thought. So when they come to me, they are absolutely looking for serious help and have little or zero experience. And it's a wide variety of niches and companies that come to me.
Oh, that's so great. So what's been your own best experience using social media? Can you tell us a good story? And, of course, I'm going to ask you to tell us one that was your worst experience, too. So.
I actually I can't think of anything that was my worst experience. But
well, good.
So, however, you must realize that someone who is as prolific as I am on a site like LinkedIn, I have 100,000 followers. And so people are going to, and people are going to disagree with me some of the time. And sometimes you will, and this is one of the things about social networking, is that you don't attack people, and that is highly unprofessional.
Right.
And so occasionally I do get people who will disagree with me vehemently. However, then I don't argue with them. I certainly set out other information that they can review, if you will. But I think the most important thing for me has been LinkedIn. It is where my clients actually reside, and more people every day are becoming members of LinkedIn. So with 200 million...
It's gotten itself known as the social media platform for business.
It is. And if you are a business, you really need, I cannot stress that anymore, is that you really need to be on LinkedIn. And you need to participate, join some groups, and get yourself known. And it's the fastest way to brand your business, and it's free. I have never, in all the years I belong to LinkedIn, paid a dime. I have not upgraded. I've done nothing, and yet I'm highly ranked, and I have hundreds of thousands of followers. So,
cool.
It works. Yes, it can be done.
Wonderful. So do you have any, other than, you've just given us some, but do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners? We've got a few minutes here.
Well, I would say the most important tip I could give other listeners or business owners is do not dismiss social media marketing as a trend. It is not a trend. Okay. There are dozens of new reports and surveys out coming from huge researchers like Forrester and Harvard Business Review, for instance, and they are providing valuable research materials showing unequivocally that social media marketing is not a trend. It is here to stay.
Yeah.
So get with the program.
Okay. I have really enjoyed talking to you today, Jean. This is great, and I really appreciate your time. So if some of our listeners would like to get hold of you, how can they contact you?
Well, of course, they can go to my website, which is www.getyourbuzzon.com. They can check through the site. There is a contact page on the site. You could also connect with me via LinkedIn, and you would put my name, Jean L. Serio, S-E-R-I-O, into the search box on your profile page and search for me, and you can connect. And we could become Facebook friends. So that's very important. Yes. And also, if someone really wanted to call me, they can reach me at 503-708-9237. And also my personal email for podcast listeners is seriousventures@msn.com.
Wow. Well, I've just got to tell you, Jean, it's been wonderful to be talking to you with all of your energy and enthusiasm for social media marketing. And also the advice that you have given has been very, very helpful. And, you've encouraged, I'm sure, many of us, and me included, to get on with it. I don't use LinkedIn like I should, so you've inspired me to go do that. And listeners, I hope you have been inspired as well, hearing and talking with Jean. It's been a wonderful discussion, and I want to remind you, this is Jackie B. Peterson. I'm the author of Better, Smarter, Richer, 7 Business Principles for Solo and Creative Entrepreneurs. And I am the one to get hold of if you're starting a solo business and you're looking to make it more financially successful for you. Better, Smarter, Richer can help you do that. The book is a workbook, and as you work the chapters in the workbook, you look at your own thinking and say, this is not the thoughts that are going to get me where I really want to go. Here are the thoughts I really need to have, and will help you change your thinking and find financial success. And among those things for financial success is using your social media marketing. Anyway, again, thanks for being with us today, and we hope to hear from you also. You'll tune in again next week, and I appreciate it all. Goodbye.